All right. So now after discussing this business analysis framework, if you will, now let's briefly discuss the management quality assessment framework. Okay. So for that, the main source is the annual report. Okay. Now I know in business analysis framework, which we saw, okay, we actually looked at two sections of the annual report, which is message from the chairman, and the other is management discussion and analysis. All right. Now let's go a step further in the annual report. Okay. All right. And first, let's understand how is the annual report structured. Okay. All right. So I have the Agarwal Industrial latest annual report open. Okay. So now let's just first discuss the structure of an annual report real quick. Okay. So here's the index. So essentially, whenever you open up an annual report, I know it's very overwhelming, right? They're talking about so many different things. Okay. But essentially, any report actually has three broad heads. Okay. Three broad categories. One is, pehle, they talk about this section is the corporate overview or business highlight overview. Okay. Business overview. And then they have this statutory reporting. Okay. And then third is they have financials. Okay. So first is they have business overview. Then they have this statutory reports. And third is they have these financials. Okay. Now, in this case of Agarwal, it is nicely kind of broken into these three sections. Many times it will not be broken that neatly. Okay. All right. So let me in fact pick up annual report from two other companies which I analyzed recently. One was Radiant Cash. Let me go over there as well. So I have the Radiant Cash Management annual report open as well. So let me go to the index. Okay. So here, if you see in the index, so they talk about so many things. So here also, this also, although they don't have the segregation explicitly mentioned explicitly. So they don't have it broken explicitly, but essentially, yahan pe bhi there are three things. So when they talk about from say corporate overview, so let's say yes, financial highlights, okay, or let's say Radiant. In fact, I'll go further. In fact, I'll cover this entire. This is more or less their business overview, okay, their business overview or corporate overview or business highlights, and then this section here. This is their statutory reports, and then they have the financials. So this is financials, and these are the statutory reports. Okay. So again, same thing here, maybe, but I'm just telling you, okay, that how annual reports are broken up. Let me open up another company which I analyzed recently, which is Kowai Medical Center and Hospital. So I have the Kowai Medical Center and Hospital annual report open now. So again, यहाँ पे भी, okay, if you look at the index, okay, in fact, even before the index, they have talked about business highlights, but essentially, this is their annual report is pretty straightforward. So message from managing director. Okay, this is again they talk about business overview here, business highlights, business overview. Obviously, you ought to read that when you try to analyze a business. Okay, and then this yahan se yahan tak. Okay, this is again statutory reports, and then again towards the end from balance sheet to notes to financial. This is all financial statements. Okay, all right. So sare annual report mein aapko same structure. You'll get the same structure. Okay, all right. Okay, now let's go to our spreadsheet. All right, so we're back to our spreadsheet. Okay, now let's look at the framework for management quality assessment. Okay, so let me click here. Okay, so yahan pe if you see, okay, this framework, okay, I have broadly divided it into two sections. One is the analysis of those statutory reporting section of the annual report, which we just saw. Okay, so ye hai, ye wala, okay, statutory report. Under that, I have covered some subsections. Un subsections ke andar, inside those subsections, what are some of the themes that you should be looking for? I have them here, and what specifically you should be checking within those segments. Okay, so column A to column B to column B to column E. Okay, tell you what exactly you need to check. And here F and G, I have captured what data I could gather against each of these items. Okay, so anyway, so this is statutory report. What you need to look at And then moving further, also, all this is not the financial statement analysis that will be covered in the as a next step. Okay, but within the financial statement, obviously you get an idea about the management. Okay, for example, if their auditors are being inadequately or over compensated, okay, that's a red flag. Pledged holding, okay, and then if they have a lot of contingent liabilities, okay, so you got to check for all these things, and obviously there are other things as well, but mota mota, this is what essentially mota mota, you have the statutory reporting and you have the financial statements that you got to look at. Acha. All right. So now in statutory report, okay, see, again, at times I know it gets very daunting, okay, कि क्या देखना है. तो पहली चीज that I look is uh, within the corporate governance report, okay, you have these 4 things. Okay? You check for who are the promoters, what's the background, you do a Google search, check their background, any promoter fraud, and they also mention who are the independent board members. You got to check if they are really independent. Okay, so that is something that you got to check. And how you can check if they are really independent? Okay, you just do a Google search. If they are, obviously they should not be related to the management. Okay, that's one. See, certain things you got to take on face value, but then you can do your own due diligence externally by just checking. अच्छा, दो independent directors हैं, ऐसा तो नहीं कि दोनों related हैं या husband wife हैं, या if they are employed by the same firm, then that means they're not really independent. So any which ways, and plus, as I said, you got to check the promoter fraud. Just do a Google search, okay. And then next one, within corporate governance, and you have within the section, you have promoter compensation. In fact, promoter compensation is a section that you'll find being repeated across multiple sections of the annual report. Okay, कि एक बार same information repeat कर रहे हैं. So you may find it under corporate governance report. You may find related party transactions. So definitely that's there. And until recently, there was a firm management 9 as well. Okay, but now it has been, if I'm not wrong, it is being phased out. So companies are no longer required to have a firm management 9. Okay, all right. Firm management 9, usually you had like promoter holding, promotional compensation, and if subsidiary ka holding, all of that. So अब उसका जो information होता था firm management 9 का, that is present across other sections. So any which ways, you got to check promoter compensation. Okay, if it's less than 10% of profit after tax at all times, okay, then that's good, decent. A lot of value investors would tell you it should be less than 5%. But okay, that's good. But many a times it's not the case. But at least it should be under the statutory limit. Okay, and the auditors actually, so you can always check what the limit is, and the auditors will actually call you out if in case it's above the limits. Okay, all right. So any which ways, let me move forward. Okay, the other is within corporate governance. Okay, the other is subsidiary ka holding. Subsidiary ka holding kitna hai? That you got to check. Okay, promoter holding kitna hai? See, you can check this from screener as well, but I'm just letting you know that you will also find it in the corporate governance. I'm trying to simplify annual report, how you can compartmentalize the annual report, okay, within your mind. Okay, because many a times segregation is not very clean. Okay, so at least you should be thinking in terms of a framework when you pull up an annual report. Okay, so you have the corporate governance. Within corporate government, you got to look for all these 4 things that I've listed. This is what you should be checking for. Okay. All right. And then next is the secretarial audit report, which is also called form number MR3. I'm just letting you know कि नाम क्या है वैसे. There is a secretarial audit report. There you have a share issue. If there has been a share issue, so what you got to check? What is the frequency of share issue? Are they do they issue shares? Do they dilute? Very frequently. And what's the stated purpose of the state of a share issue? Okay, like in the case of Agarwal Industrial, they actually had a warrant issue and they exercised those warrants. Okay, and again, I know I have spoken a lot about warrant issues in my second video of Agarwal Industrial. I'll just show up that video as well. So if you see my screen, so in this video, in this management quality system video of this particular company, okay, I actually take you through the annual report sections, which I found they were either red or orange flags, which perhaps were areas of a little concern. So I kind of bring them up in this video just so that we are aware and we can track them if we are considering an investment in this company. Okay, so any which ways, so here I actually go at length and I talk about warrant issue isme. Okay, I speak about it a whole lot. So you can, in fact, yeah, where is it? Yeah. Okay, so warrant issues many a times, it also indicates that the uh, the the management may not be very friendly to minority shareholders if they do that uh, bit frequently. Okay, all right. Okay, so right. So if they actually have a warrant issue or something, you got to check for the reason. Okay. And here, in the annual report, you will also find in this secretarial audit key, they'll mention key what's the reason. So here, Agarwal, they mention the reason for a warrant issue was capital infusion. Okay. All right. So and I obviously I make a subjective judgment on their reasoning in my video. Okay. All right. So anyways, if you like really want to understand what you need to look for, so you look at this framework and also go through that video. Okay, you would be able to connect. Okay, all right. And the third thing is any within the secretarial audit. Okay, check for any non-compliance. If in case the company is not complied with anything. All right, even if as I was talking about the salaries, if they are actually paying themselves a salary of beyond the set limit, then the auditors will actually call you out on that. Right. So and there could be other non-compliance things as well. Okay. And besides non-compliance, there are other things also that are mentioned in the secretarial audit, right? This come like Agarwal Industrial, they acquired a group company. Okay. And again, this is a point that I mentioned in the annual report. Here, if you see, I've mentioned that they acquired a group company at a premium. And again, this is something I talk about in the second video, okay, of the management quality assessment of this company. And you would see as to how I arrived at the conclusion that they acquired their own company at a premium. मतलब खुद ही को उन्होंने एक premium, एक extra पैसा, they paid themselves extra money over the valuation of that company. Okay, all right. So anyway, that's quite interesting. Okay, and that's the reason why I kind of marked a few things in orange. Okay, so usually whenever I come across items that are concerning, I give them three colors: red, amber, green. Red is something which is maybe a showstopper for me, because if it's really critical, then I may not go ahead with investment in that company, or I may pose a question to the management about that thing that I mark red. If it's orange, then I can live with it. Okay, but it's certainly something which needs to be tracked. That's why if you see I have a bunch of these four things marked in orange: promoter holding print, I've marked in orange; share issue, I've marked in orange, because I obviously one time, okay, they issued warrant, that's fine, but I wouldn't really expect them, or I would rather hope that they don't issue warrants and warrant is basically giving themselves risk-free profits. Okay. At the expense of shareholders. Okay, so I wouldn't want them to do it again. So that's why I've marked it in orange. So something I can track in the future. And then any other compliance, right? So I wouldn't want them to do this moving forward ideally. Okay, all right. And then the fourth item, which is very important, and again, there's a dedicated section in the annual report, that is the related party transaction, and the form, उसका form होता है form AOC2, इस नाम से भी mention होता है. Okay, उसके अंदर again you check, one of the things that you could check is what related party purchases make up what portion of the overall purchases. Say if the company is purchasing raw material from outside, okay, many times they purchase from their own related parties. अब उसमें you do not know क्या purchase हो रहा है कि अंदर क्या हो रहा है, many a times. Okay, all right, कि profit sharing हो रही है कि कुछ कुछ दिखा रही है, you do not know. You're not always sure. So you would always expect for a good company, the related party transaction, they kind of go down over time. Okay, and certainly it should be there at a bare minimum. Okay, so here what I saw, the related party transactions is less than 10% of the overall purchases. Okay, and the other is, since they made one of their related parties a 100% subsidiary, okay, when they acquired it at a premium, okay, so क्या है कि अब no longer it's a related party because it's a part of their own company, so which also reduces related party transactions क्योंकि वो खुद ही company बन गई. Okay, so again, that's why I've not marked it red. Okay, because I believe that this is something that although there are a lot of related party transactions, but the volume of purchases is less than 10%. And plus, वो थोड़ा reduce भी हुआ because they acquired a group company. All right. Okay. So now next thing that you got to check is there is a business responsibility and sustainability section within the statutory report. Essentially, उसके अंदर you check for two things. One is employee का information, कोई employee का information, और मैं ऐसा क्यों बोल रहा हूँ? See, within the employee information, you check for two things. Ki employee count kya hai? What's the employee count? Okay, all right. And employee churn, if it is mentioned. I'm not sure ki companies are required to mention employee churn or not. Perhaps a CS, company secretary or CA can answer that. Okay, but if that information is there, okay, then that's indeed useful. Okay, so why basically I'm stressing on this. You check for employee count and churn if it is mentioned. Employee count, though, more often than not it is mentioned. Okay, so because I came across a small cap valve manufacturing company last year, और उनके 4-5 एम्प्लॉय थे, 200 करोड़ की कंपनी, आई थिंक 2 CR 100 CR कंपनी, एंड दे जस्ट हैड 5 एम्प्लॉयज. नाउ आई अंडरस्टैंड कि लॉट ऑफ वर्क यू वुड बी कॉन्ट्रैक्टिंग, you know, you would have contract workers or something. Okay, but to me, and if that's the nature of the industry, then that's great. But if in case all your competitors, all other valve companies or whatever the industry it is, they actually have their employees on a payroll and you're just getting the work done by contract labor, then to me that's a cause of concern. Okay, all right, या तो कुछ गोलमाल हो रहा है, या फिर you don't have employees on your payroll because you don't want to pay them their incentives, their gratuity, their health insurance, or what have you. Okay, that is something which as an investor you may or may not be comfortable with. Okay, so but that means further due diligence. Okay, and the other is 30% employee churn. The Radiant ki case mein I saw employee churn is around 30%. Then I checked. Okay, then I checked कि Radiant के competitors as well, their employee churn is also in that range. So but ये industry का feature ही है. Then I came to conclusion कि Radiant cash management case में, which is into cash logistics, valuable logistics, perhaps it's an industry feature that employee churn is around 30%. कि 3-4 साल में you'll have a kind of a new workforce because every 3-4 years you'll have employee churning. Okay, all right, okay. But yeah, if only your company has a higher employee churn vis-a-vis competition, then that's a concern and that's a red flag. Okay, so anyway, that's why I'm highlighting that this section is also very important. Many a times it's overlooked. कि यार ये क्या है, क्या इन्फॉर्मेशन फिर आ गई. तो आप जब देख रहे हो तो पे अटेंशन टू दिस सेक्शन एज वेल, बिजनेस रिस्पांसिबिलिटी एंड सस्टेनेबिलिटी. ओके, नेक्स्ट इज एनी कंप्लेंट्स. अगर बहुत सारे, देयर आर लॉट ऑफ कंप्लेंट्स एवरी ईयर and a portion of them are unresolved, then that's a concern as well. So be on the lookout for that one as well. And the next one, the last one in statutory report that I have is the directors or the board's report. Okay, which is I think usually the first thing that you would see. And there you could check for the auditor. Auditor कितनी बार you have churned the auditor. अगर auditor बहुत you're changing the auditor's time and again, if the auditor is resigning very frequently, then again that's a concern. So Agarwal, in the case of Agarwal Industrial, they had 4 company secretaries in 2 years. There was no change in CA, but there were 4 CS changes in 2 years. Okay, and again, it's me perhaps splitting, perhaps overreading, but I'm fine for now. Perhaps they may have resigned for personal reasons. But again, if it's something which happens very often, that's certainly a cause of concern. Okay, because something is cooking and you do not know. Okay, so you'll have want to stay away from that company. All right. So again, broadly, these are the sections that I have in the statutory report. Corporate governance में ये चीजें देखो. Secretarial audit में you check for these 2 things broadly. Related party transactions obviously very important. Business responsibility and sustainability में ये सब देखो. And then you have directors or board report. ठीक है? All right. Okay. Next, financial statements. Okay. यहाँ पे I know I kind of covered it very briefly. Okay. One thing very interesting that I'll tell you. I did an analysis of Tina Rubber last year. Okay. And they had in fact, let me pull up that analysis. Okay. And you'll see that contingent liabilities of that company. इतने सारे contingent liabilities हैं उस company के. All right. So let me pull that up. All right. So this is my blog on Tina Rubber, which is a company which recycles tires. Okay. And manufactures crumb rubber, which interestingly, crumb rubber again is used in road construction as well. Okay. All right. Okay. So now let's यहाँ पे see. Okay. See, look at the contingent liabilities. Okay. That's why it's very important. Okay. To read through contingent liabilities as well. Okay. These are the liabilities for which a company does not make provisions for. They lead to earning origin if they materialize in the future. मतलब ये वो liabilities हैं जिसलिए you don't have to set aside money for now. Okay, but if in case they materialize, like कोई court case चल रहा है, कोई tax evasion का case चल रहा है, or anything for that matter, so if in case you lose that case, or it could be anything else, then yeah, you'll have to pay money, and that would lead to your profit declining. Okay, all right. So these guys actually have if you see, इसके अंदर they have corporate guarantee to they have these 2 big contingent liabilities, right? And I have obviously other things that I've noted for this company as well. Okay. Any which ways. So see, guys, I know I kind of sped past this section of the video. Okay. But please take a look. Please go through the video. Okay, at perhaps 1.25 or 1.5x speed. Okay. And also then once you're done, okay, also then look at this framework. Okay, then you will be able to appreciate this framework, how you use this framework to assess the quality of the management. Okay, all right. And by the way, here I forgot to mention that column I have the ideal scores against each of these line items. Okay, all right. Okay, which is like obvious, but I thought I'll just mention key what is that is being mentioned here. All right. Okay. See, guys. So hope this was helpful. Okay. Now I am not going to cover financial statement analysis and valuation equity research in this video because I've made, as I said in the beginning of this video, I've made separate video series on these three topics. On financial statement analysis and valuation. Okay. So I'm not going to like dedicate time over these two topics in this video. Okay. Right. Please take a look if you thoroughly want to learn equity research. If you're serious about learning equity research. And the last section is report writing. That is something which I've not done yet. Okay, right. That is as in I've not made a video on equity research report. Okay, I have made equity research reports, but I've not made a video on how to make them. Okay, that is something which I can make, later. All right. Okay. So hopefully, this helped. Okay. So yeah, I think this concludes the video. So let me know if you have any questions. I'll be more than happy to help you. All right. I just got reminded that I've not covered the market sizing video. Okay, so I'll make a very small video, separate video on how do you size the market? How do you estimate the size of the market using both top-down and bottom-up approaches? Okay, all right. Thank you.